everybody I have talked to is that in politics, you must be very careful to stay relevant.
Well, it's no longer a secret or speculation. Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru formally joined the United Democratic Alliance this morning, abandoning Jubilee after what she called a period of soul-searching and people-driven consultations, amongst other decision-making processes. But how significant is this move? With 10 months to go to the 2022 general elections, and will the gamble pay off? Now, tonight on the program, we read the mood on the political landscape with my guests, two here in studio and one joining us virtually. Joining us here in studio is Herman Manyora, a political analyst, together with Professor Peter Kagwanja, a political advisor and a strategist. And joining us virtually is Dr. Barak Muluka, a communications consultant. To each of you, many thanks for making time for Newsnight this evening. Remember, 22423 is the SMS line, and the hashtag is Newsnight. I actually want to begin by getting the thoughts of Dr. Barak Muluka, who's joining us virtually. I hope you can hear me, Barak, and good evening to you.
Loud and clear.
Fantastic.
Loud and clear. I can hear you, Waiga Mwahura. It's good to join you in this fashion from here in Kakamega.
Thank you. Herman is impressed with your attire this evening. He'll tell us why a bit later on. But first things first, were you...
Tell him I was celebrating the president's birthday in my own way, and my wife has given me a brand new wardrobe. This attire was her choice.
I see.
So happy birthday, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you for doing that on national TV. Let me get straight to the question. That move by Governor Anne Waiguru, a surprise for you or not?
Not at all. Politicians no longer surprise me in this country or anywhere else in the world. In Kenya and in Africa especially, politicians are migratory animals. And the season of migration has just begun. And the laws of migration are very simple and clear. There are pull factors, there are push factors. The pull factors are in the place of destination. The push factors are in the place of origin. And obviously, Anne Waiguru has been pulled by certain factors, as she explained rather eloquently this afternoon.
Okay, Barak, I'll come back to understand more about these push and pull factors. Professor Kagwanja, good to have you. I don't think we've had you on Newsnight in quite a while.
Yes.
When you look at this move, one would ask the timing. Waiguru exits Jubilee as someone considered one very close to the president. A recent host, her county of Mashujaa, which was seen as a benefit for her and for the county of Kirinyaga as well, only for her to turn around barely a week later and jump ship. Why is the question many would be asking this evening.
And they say that all politics is local. And I don't think we have any business seeking bigger reasons for her decamping other than turning a very sharp spotlight on Kirinyaga politics. Kirinyaga politics is basically the game of death, in the sense that the heavyweights are there, and therefore it has brought a lot of panicking. And I think Waiguru's move is a response to the dynamics. We're talking about the candidates who are there, Grishe. We don't know whether Jerugeza is coming back. There are many other candidates and herself, and therefore it is basically trying to position yourself to get into Kirinyaga politics. That's one. You cannot also not rule out Waiguru's own ambition. I think the first time was we thought that should be a good deputy for Raila. That never worked. Initially, of course, this is not the first time there is this love affair between Waiguru and Ruto. If you check your pictures and images, it's not the first time. Now it's that. So it is going to unfold, and we're going to see more of it. But what I do know is that at this juncture, focus on local factors in Kirinyaga, and then you can begin to see the national ambitions. Remember, Mother has already been crowned as one of the major players. Mother Karua, and the titanic battle between the two Iron Ladies is not to be taken for granted. But there's Grisha on the other side, who is really on the top of the game. From if you are listening to the ground,
which is what everyone has been telling us. They have been doing right now, listening to the ground. Herman, Prof has raised some interesting points. He's talked about, on one hand, panic, but on the other hand, well-calculated move. How do you read the situation this evening?
There are two ways.
Official?
To me, there are only two ways, and both of them simple. One would be to see this as a product of lack of experience. You know, people who are not experienced react to things very fast. So politicians who are kind of new in the game, they don't read the game well. Just like even in football, experienced players and teams know how to read the game. So Waiguru could be suffering from that inexperience.
Even though the Deputy President said this has been a long time coming. We knew it was going to happen. It was a question of when.
Waiguru is just new in the game. Because a more seasoned politician will take time to read the game better than she has read. That's one way of looking at it. And I think the other way would be the typical Kenyan way of getting excited about politics and reading everything into the politics, just like Americans with their celebrity things. So in Kenya, an anthill becomes a mountain. So if you have to look at it, you begin looking at all sort of things people are saying. Perhaps he thinks Ngirishi is now moving towards the handshake, or she has been seen with Kibicho. That's to signal things. She was seen with Uhuru when Uhuru was there last. The body language you could see during the Mashujaa Day, rejoicing with the handshake ladies. You could look at it that way, but there's also another way of looking at it. And sometimes I advise William Ruto for free. It's time he paid me something. You could look at it, these deep state fellows could be planting people there to live there at the right time. Don't play with these guys.
Professor Kagwanja,
these are the guys.
Do we have a member of the deep state in studio this evening?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling us?
Right there.
Manyora is a roost tank. It's a roost cannon.
So they could actually plant people forward for intelligence.
Yeah, because now, this is Ruto's season of harvesting. But it will be short-lived. A time is soon coming, not far from now, when he will see really politics. That's the time he will be deserted. All these small fellows surrounding him will be running for dear life, fighting for survival, and he will remain alone. That's the time he will understand Kenyan politics.
Herman, you always muddy the waters. Barak, I don't know if you got any of that. Do any of those theories by Herman Manyora make sense for you?
You know, Herman Manyora lives on a planet called wishful thinking, and he always has an explanation for everything. And you can see the slant is always very predictable, and therefore we must understand the platform from which he articulates these things, as I've said before. And each time Herman Manyora comes here, he says things which cannot go beyond 3 or 4 days. We were here discussing the BBI, which of course is now in the graveyard. And now these things which he's saying are also going to end up in the graveyard. Anne Waiguru has said that she has listened to the people of Kirinyaga. And it's not just the people of Kirinyaga, it's the people of the mountain. Much as my good friend and fellow scholar and colleague, Professor Peter Kagwanja may not want to agree, the ground is speaking a different language. We are in that space where in Luo Nyanza, people went to see the provincial commissioner in 1920, and they were saying we don't want to be part of the colony. And the commissioner asked who has said that, and the people said the country has said. The country is saying. In the Luo they say Piny Owach. The country is saying. The people are saying. And Waiguru has been in space where, together with other people who have been calling themselves Kieleweke, they took a certain stand. But each time they go back to the mountain, they hear the people speaking a different language. Now they are getting on the home stretch. And it is time for people in politics and those who want to survive, to live, to be in politics successfully another day, to start staring at the facts very hard in the face. And that is what Waiguru has done. You have seen others like Ngunjiri Wambugu have gone quiet. I have seen his denial, but I've also learned not to take politicians' denial seriously. It's just a question of time before we see many more migrations, and not just within the Jubilee fraternity, but other fraternities. It shouldn't surprise me also to see some people migrate from UDA to other places, from ODM to wherever, and some from. It is the season of migration.
No, it truly sounds like it is, and we'll be here to cover all that as and when it happens. Tell me this before we get a reaction from my guests here in studio. To you, is this the strongest sign yet that in the competition for the votes from Mount Kenya, William Ruto is in the lead?
He may or may not be in the lead, but he's in a very formidable position. That's what I would say. I would want to undertake a more scientific survey before I could say that he was in the lead. But he is certainly in a very formidable position as of now.
Okay. Professor Kaganjwa, you've been referenced by Herman. I think I should rightly give you a chance for immediate response.
It's okay. Herman Manyora is given to just saying what is in his mind. Definitely, I know what he's referring to because I have a member of government who is in my house. But a scholar like him should be able to split the two. You know, a government in your house and you in the government. Those things are very distinct. It's very scientific for him to decipher that. But let me come to this point about you know, who is listening to the ground and which ground anyway. This is the time when we say love is in the air. Everybody is looking for everyone. So let's not confuse popularity of parties with, you know, this love affair or which love is in the air. If you go to 2013, I mean 2012, you remember that love was in the air. Everybody was looking for everybody, and meetings, night meeting in gazebos and everywhere. 2017, it was not very much because the Jubilee duo, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were together. The Ruto team was so it was a question of how they shape politics, and of course the other side was how to radicalize politics. It was a completely different ballgame. Now this is an open game now. It is a transition, the kind of transition you got in 2002, the kind of transition you got in 2013. So there is more love in the air than in other seasons. It will not be a surprise for me if you find Waiguru coming back to Jubilee, because Waiguru has done that. She has swung like a roller coaster from Kiwereweke, Tanga, and yes, and neutral. Okay. Yeah, if you listen to all her speeches and whatever. So she's in the left, in the right, in the middle, all that. People are trying to find their levels.
Wait, let me get that right. Are you telling me you will not be surprised if you wake up a few months from now and read Anne Waiguru says, yes, I'm back in Jubilee? Yes,
because it all started with Ruto. Then it came to, by the time we were coming to Bomas of Kenya, BBI, it is Raila, or the handshake team, and now it is Ruto. So it is ping pong. It will all depend on how. But remember, the leadership in Mount Kenya has a very special dilemma. First, this is the first time the region is not having a strong kingpin. I know this argument has been made. Muturi will be a presidential candidate, possibly. Mwangi wa Iria will be a presidential candidate, possibly. Moses Kuria will be a presidential candidate, and Kiojore perhaps. Everybody in Mount Kenya now has a party. It's fashionable to have a party of your own, just like a walking stick. Everybody needs a walking stick. Everybody has a party. But the reality is, for the first time in our history, in the region, you don't have a commanding leader, the kind you get in Jomo Kenyatta, the kind you get in Mwai Kibaki, the kind you get in Uhuru Kenyatta. We don't have that. And in the absence of that, there is no magnet that is pulling everybody to the center. So the politics are now beginning to become centrifugal. Everybody is going their way. Some looking for deputies, others looking for just something to hold to. And therefore, it would be hair-splitting to begin looking for specific reasons why Waiguru is going to Ruto's side, or why Peter Kenneth is hanging around Raila Odinga, or why the other one is jostling for this and that position. Isn't it natural that at this time power is on the loose? And everybody is trying to find the best strategy to get it. Maybe you I've not even told you that I want to become the deputy to Raila Odinga.
You yourself personally?
I mean, I have not told you that.
Arman says we should take your words seriously. He says that your words have power. You've raised a very interesting point. Let me allow Herman to come in. And I like that we are broadening this discussion beyond today's events because it has implications. But Herman, I try and put myself in the shoes of the governor and ask myself, you cross over to UDA where there's already someone who says they're going for the governor's position with a UDA ticket, at least they want to fight for it, and they have fought the long haul. You are a quote-unquote Johnny-come-lately. Could Waiguru have been promised something else? Could there be a different discussion happening around what role she could play in UDA? There is speculation. It could be more than the governor's seat in Kirinyaga. Do you buy any of that?
Yeah, that is the kind of politics I play, hard politics. Unlike Baraka and his team who play emotional politics. I have no time for such as emotions. I look for the hard things. You see, you want to think, could she have been promised the running mate position?
I dare you some newspaper headlines tomorrow will posing that question.
And you then want to ask yourself, what impact would it be? What would it have on the Ruto team? Look at people like Ngirish herself, not just for Kirinyaga, but her role in the whole game around the mountain. Her support, moral, financial, and everything. Look at people like Rigathi Gachagua. And look, a host of other people. What impact will this have? But again, when you look at the lady, the flip-flop kind of game she plays, the moral ground on which she stands, if you were to pick such a person for a running mate, honestly, and I say, I play very hard politics.
She doesn't say she's been flip-flopping. She says she's been listening to the ground.
But you say, my friend, I'm coming there. That's even now worse.
What is worse?
When people, like, including my friend Muruka, say, listening to the ground, you must offer leadership. You cannot aspire to lead a country if you cannot offer leadership. Leaders are people who make hard decisions, sometimes very unpopular decisions. Sometimes they cost them elections. You have to lead the people. You cannot come and tell us the ground is saying like this. So to what extent then are you a leader? You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is simple. That would not be the kind of leader I think Ruto might be looking for. It will cost him dearly. So it gets back to the arguments I had before. Maybe she realizes whether she remains in Jubilee or goes to UDA or whatever she does, she won't get this thing. This thing is between Ngirishi and the Karua, Mother Karua. She's nowhere, she doesn't fit there. So maybe she has struck a deal, and that to me seems perhaps to be the game. That, Bwana Deputy President, let me give you some capital. You know, when you have somebody like Baraka Munuka to your side, he comes with a lot of capital. Never mind that he may not give you a vote. So, I'm just giving an example. If you are
questioning Baraka's ability to mobilize votes,
even Manyora, let's say for example, Ruto took me in his camp tomorrow. No, he'll get a lot of political capital, but I may not bring any vote. So, Anne Waiguru may not bring any vote to Ruto, but that sends a strong signal. Any camp will love it. In return for that, Ruto makes a serious promise. If I win this thing, I'll give you a position in my government. That is a possibility. But the other possibility I did mention would be it's a game. Send these people, pack them there. At the right time, they come. And when they come out, the maximum damage to Ruto. It is also a possibility. I'm looking at possibility. I'm not a fortune teller to say you say this about BBI, it went like this. No. I'm not a prophet.
You've left others to do that.
I read a situation and apply my mind to it. If it is predictive, I could be wrong. It's not scientific. Anything we say here is not scientific. Nobody can claim the things we say in this studio are scientific. They are not. Okay? We may have borrowed from science as we argue, but nothing is hard science.
Dr. Buluka, let me allow you in, and I hope you've been listening to this.
Yes.
Go ahead before I ask my question. Let me allow you to respond.
First of all, tell Mr. Manyora to emphasize his points, not to shout them. He's going to burst my eardrums. We can hear him loud and clear if he speaks with the coolness of an intellectual. He says he reads situations, and I agree that he reads situations, only that he reads them the wrong way. He needs to learn to read situations the right way so that he does not keep on eating his words. I don't play politics. I study politics, I interpret them, and we tell people things, and those things come to pass. We do not need to be Jewish prophets to be able to do that. We just need to be a bit honest. Anne Waiguru told Kenyans that you can rent a Kikuyu, but you cannot buy one. We need to ask ourselves, who was she talking to? Was she talking to William Ruto, or was she talking to Raila Odinga? I suspect that she was talking to Raila Odinga and the people who are doing BBI. She was basically telling them that they had rented her or rented the Kikuyu. And if that was indeed the case, and if we should proceed with Herman Manyora's hypothesis that somebody is being played, as I hear my children saying, then it is possible that those players have also been playing somebody else. It's also possible that they have been playing Mr. Raila Odinga, and that the chickens are beginning to come home to roost. It is possible that the season of migration begins with Anne Waiguru only as the harbinger, and that in the days to come we are likely to see a lot more of that kind of activity from the mountain. In terms of what Professor Peter Kagwanja talks about kingpins, it is possible that there is no kingpin presently in the mountain region, although I do not agree. All these people who have had the mountain agglutinating around them were people who were dismissed. Jomo Kenyatta was basically brought in from nowhere, and he was put at the center of things, with James Gishuru stepping down twice for him. Indeed, Jomo Kenyatta, who has been associated with the Mau Mau, dismissed the Mau Mau. He condemned them, and he said in Limuru, if you get this thing called Mau Mau, please destroy it. But it was necessary to mold a leader out of him, and the mountain did that. Mwai Kibaki used to be referred to as Professor or General Coward. I don't know what the Kikuyu word is again. I've forgotten. Maybe Professor Kagwanja will be generous enough to supply that name. And all said and done, therefore, it is still possible that if the Kikuyu wanted, the mountain wanted, it would still present another candidate. It is still true that Mheshimiwa, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, was built by the mountain. So it's also true that sometimes the leaders follow the people. As I said in Luo, they say, Piny Owacho, which is to say that the people have said, the country has said. And when the country has said, the leaders follow.
Okay, Barak, some interesting points. I have
just a footnote.
Okay, briefly.
My friend Manyora understands this very clearly, that in his own backyard in Vihiga, when the people spoke in 2002, and Musalia Mudavadi did not listen, they showed him the door to the sabbatical space where he stayed for 5 years. So the people quite often blaze the trail themselves, and the leaders have to follow.
It sounds like a question of ignore them at your own peril. And speaking of ignoring, I don't want to ignore feedback from the people.
Absolutely.
I don't want to ignore feedback from the people this evening. These are some of your tweets before I allow Professor Kagwanja to respond to some of that historical take that has taken us through. Welie Mohammed, this is his tweet. Governor Waiguru was waiting to do away with the hosting of Mashujaa Day in Kirinyaga before she officially decamped. She defected zamani. No big news here. That's what Welie believes. All right, what else do we have? FDR minus. Such political shiftings happen as near the elections as possible. Sai bado miezi 10. Things could change by May 2021 and by May 2020, okay, and perhaps, okay, May 2022, I believe, and perhaps change again before August 2022. Okay. Sir Ombati Francis, you say before the end of the year, we are going to experience a lot of defections in relation to the strongest party in the grassroots. They say bendera hufuata upepo. So maybe the earlier, the better. That's what Ombati believes. Senteu, ask Barack Muluka, how significant is Waiguru's crossover, having in mind 7 out of 10 Mount Kenya governors are pro-Kieleweke? Is the move motivated by pressure in the gubernatorial contest in Kirinyaga, or is it something else? Okay, Prof, may I allow you to come in now.
I guess what we need to do is to look at the fault lines in Mount Kenya politics so that you understand how significant or insignificant Waiguru's defection is. I guess if you are talking about the handshake coalition, which would be President Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, they have had the solid support of governors in the region. When you saw the tour of the former Prime Minister and his climbing of the mountain, as it was called, he started in Nakuru. He was supported by that governor. He went to Laikipia. He was with that governor. He came to all the places he had been governor. Now, William Ruto was a little bit more strategically posted people who are good in marketing, not necessarily having any political gravitas, except maybe 1 or 2. If you get to Muranga or get to Kirinyaga or get to Nyeri, the people marketing UDA and what you call political heavyweights, many of them are actually greenhorns, and it's first-timer and so on.
They're newer on the scene, so to speak.
That's what we're talking about. They're newer to the scene, and also in terms of the weight. They're not your Kebigituras, they are not your Mutai Kagwas, they are not the people who have been long in politics. And therefore, when you go to Meru, it is Kiraitu Murungi, Embu, it's Wabora, and these are people who have been standing behind the handshake coalition. The MPs are the ones who have been Tangatangas, and the Tangatanga and the Kieleweke are at that level. Now, Waiguru becomes the first governor to officially defect from Jubilee to this other side, and she also happened to be one of the youngest in that list. So it's important to look at that division. The other thing you're going to find is that this is not the first time in Mount Kenya politics that people are either defecting from one side to the other because of the choices that they are making. So Waiguru is also making hard choices, but as it were, politics is a gamble, and if you don't gamble, then you don't win or lose, because that's the game. The question is whether this gambling is sustainable. Since the journey come lately in the Hasra Nation, and the Hasra Nation has its owners, and they have been there for the last 4 or 5 years. To the best of my knowledge, she's literally one of the very much insiders of the Jubilee, or if you wish. In Jubilee, we drew a distinction between the Jubilee followers and what you call Uhuru Team Uhuru. And in Team Uhuru, Waiguru was very central. You remember even the transition from Kibaki to Uhuru, Waiguru was one of the people inside the team that managed the transition. So she's not an outsider.
Periphery player, yes.
Yeah, so this will have a huge impact on her credibility as a person. Because politics, you may think that politics has no values or morals. But the most constant moral in politics is trust. And therefore, betrayal is very, very expensive in politics, extremely expensive.
Prof, even as you talk about that, I want to reference, do we have that tweet by the governor of Nakuru, Lee Kinyanjui, on his official page? I think it was a message on Facebook. If we have that up, we pull it up, because there's some interesting things he said. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear from Manyora as well. We have learnt of the decision by our colleague to sign up with Team Yellow. As the Igbo say, a toad does not run in the daytime for nothing. We respect her decision. We wish her well in the coming season. We shall remember her as a respected and resourceful member of our team. In politics, timing is key. It is what distinguishes a master stroke from a disastrous move. It has ended many careers, if not well thought. Having said that, I'm reminded of the parable of the ladies who finished their oil before the main wedding. When the final day came, they were empty. And Gashuri referenced this in his story. And the governor, on his official handle, ends by saying the wedding starts in January.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, what wedding is this?
The politics is now just starting. As you can see, there was a time when people were saying that trying to market Raila Odinga in Mount Kenya is like selling pork in Saudi Arabia. Meaning selling pork to the Muslims. It's impossible. In a nutshell, it's impossible. Yes. But now, can one say confidently that that is true? It's not. Because there are serious inroads that are being made, and you can see them. There's public pronouncements that tells you that this is not a game as usual. It's deeper than you can see. Meaning that sometimes there is that proverbial antelope in the African folktales that danced itself lame before the new dance. And when the dance came, it could not dance because it was out of energy and everything that was required to be a competitor. And that is your and that's what, I think that's what Governor Kinyanjui is saying. Don't dance yourself out of the ring before the new time. The time is coming. I think he's simply saying, and I concur with him, that this is bad timing for any defection. If you look at 2012, yes, Kalonzo Musyoka stayed with the Ruto Uhuru group until the final hour. That did not prevent him from becoming the running mate to Raila Odinga in 2013. But it was bad timing because you had invested so much in the other side that when you're coming to this other side, you're not bringing in a new capital. Which makes me wonder, Herman, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If she decomes now, you say too early. If she decomes in February, you say too late.
Yeah, first, I must apologize. You know, a gentleman must apologize. If my voice has intimidated my friend Barack, my younger brother, who is hundreds of miles away from you right now. I must apologize. But you know where I come from? When I say mwanaume ni sauti. So, if it intimidates some guys, I'm really sorry about it. You see, that is what I said. That's on a light note, my brother. What I said is, and what Kinyanjui is saying, is that this is too early. Any seasoned politician will take some little while to check. You will be joining. Again, it's a question of who are you joining. If you are Anne Waiguru, you know you are a governor. You have been in big things, big minister with a lot of portfolio, and like Professor here says, an insider in government, close to the president, and you know, trusted. And now the side you are joining has only William Ruto and nobody else. You get what I'm saying? His supporters say he has the people. There are no people there. When I say this, I'm saying simple but hard facts. The Kikuyu I know, the gamer community that I know, will not listen to these young people who are with Ruto. Maybe you don't know the game I'm talking about. Do you know the Kikuyu I'm talking about? I'm talking about the game of Mau Mau. I'm talking about the community that knows the sweetness of power, that has been in power 15 years, 10 years, now 9 years. That is the community I'm talking about. I'm talking about the community that is the most politically sensitive, the community that leads the economy of this country. You will not convince me that community will listen to these small fellows. But we also know they will go, just let me finish, in the fullness of time, they will listen to the community leadership. That's why I'm saying it is too late. They haven't even spoken. Uhuru hasn't even said anything. He hasn't made any move. When these leaders, the community leadership, begins to speak, you can then even now begin to gauge how are people taking the message from Uhuru Kenyatta, from the community leadership. At that point, you could then say the ground has disregarded its leadership, and for the first time, a community like that one is willing to listen to these young people. That time you could move. But for now, I rather doubt, because finally, and that's why I'm saying she could be making a blunder. Kenyan politics is highly regional, highly tribal. We agree with that. It will be very difficult to convince me, although I would want it to be the case, that ODM will get 10 MPs in the mountain. I'll be very happy. I'll be very happy if Jubilee got 15 MPs, 5 from Vihiga or 3 from whatever it is. That I will be happy with, because that's the Kenya I want to see in my lifetime. But I would not be convinced that today and that time has not come, Waiguru. That come next year, UDA will be the party of the mountain. This will be a new Kenya. I would want to see that Kenya, but I doubt that that is the Kenya we are in. By January next year, February next year, UDA will be a Kalenjin party. I'm telling you. It doesn't mean that the mountain may not vote for Ruto. Yes, they could vote for him, even whatever percentage. But as far as parties are concerned, they will have their own parties. And that's why these fellows who are with UDA now from the mountain, they will be orphans, and you'll see it. So I just feel for Anne Waiguru that she could be joining a side where people are going to be orphaned very soon.
And that's your reading of that situation. Barak, Haman has come up with a theory here, raised his concerns. I want to give you a chance to respond at this time, even as some would say, don't we have a new voting bloc? Don't we have sort of a more educated, younger group that could make decisions different from what their parents and their grandparents, considered as issues around elections, that could tip the scale?
Thank you once again. Listening to my colleagues at the other end, of course, with a lot of respect, even as they serially contradict themselves. They make one point and then they shoot it down themselves. They say things like it is too early. Then they also say that it is too late. You have put in so much capital on the other side. They say Kalonzo waited until during the very last few months. And you can see that when he made that migration, it did not pay any dividends. If we talk about the antelope that Chinua Achebe has talked about, who danced herself lame before the dance began, and if we talk about the 10 virgins who are foolish and who did not have oil in their lamp, we hear someone to be telling Anne Waiguru that you have jumped the gun, that the time to migrate is coming, but it is not now. Are they preparing to migrate? When you hear people say things like the mountain will not listen to these young people, they will listen to the old guards, we need to remind them that in 2017 the mountain listened to the young people. That is why it is the young people who are in parliament, and the old guard were defeated, in fact, right in the party primaries. Some of them say it was Ruto who organized for their defeat. I don't know whether it is true or not. We are used to hearing people we respect very much saying things that they cannot substantiate. For example, Professor Peter Kagwanja says categorically that William Ruto bought people who were then instructed to boo the former Prime Minister I do not know whether he has got the evidence.
I didn't say that.
Leave alone the proof.
When did I say that?
When did he say that?
When did I say that?
Just play back, and you'll hear that somewhere where the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister, started very well. He went, I don't know, to this place and to that place. And William Ruto, in the very last segment of what Professor Kagwanja has said, he says that then Ruto had people who booed the former Prime Minister. I do not know whether he wants to substantiate or to eat his words or both.
Okay, he denies that he said that, and we'd have to play that clip again. Please carry on with your next point.
Never mind. Never mind, it's already recorded, so we will be able to find out that, and it is there. The audience has even heard. I do not have to labor the point. How significant this migration is, I cannot tell at this point. We have to wait and see whether it will be significant or not. I agree that May 2022, the situation may have changed. I cannot say with any degree of certainty that it's going to be the same. Those are things that must be left to the vicissitudes of time.
Barack, before we take a break, and I know Prof needs to respond, last year at a time like this, you were here in our studios, you confirmed that you were consulting for the Deputy President's camp, and some are asking tonight, are you still consulting? You've been quiet in regards to that.
If he reaches out to me and asks me about his communications strategy, I will, as a professional, offer him advice.
So we take that as a no for now.
Let's put it that way.
Okay. Prof, I have a few minutes before we take a break. Can I allow you to respond? I know you are agreeing with
I think Barack Muruka, my brother and fellow, statesman, as a scholar, is on a fighting mood today. And I don't think he came for analysis here. He came to pick petty fights. Because I cannot, let me repeat this, I cannot discuss the practice of politics. I prefer to talk about the theory of politics. That's really my preference. And in that spirit, I would say the following, that I have again and again said that William Ruto, as a person, has been thinking through politics. If you look at 2002, when he teamed up with Uhuru Kenyatta to fight Mwai Kibaki, he organized politics. Remember, he was the KANU Secretary General, previously the KANU Organizing Secretary. So he has been a big week in KANU strategy. And his strategy was to organize politics around the youth. So it was a clash of generations, because Kibaki was old and Uhuru was young. And that time you could see ethnicity had gone down as the axis around which politics rotate. In 2022, he has come now with a class division, which is appearing to submerge ethnic politics.
Although he says it's not a class division, but that's how you see it.
When you talk about Mama Boga, the ordinary, you don't need to be a Marxist in order to know that you are talking about the proletariat, the Rumpens, comprados versus... The Marxists will have 1,001 words for the same. The truth of the matter is, though the haves and the have-nots, as Nyerere would call them, the haves and the have-nots. That's what he is capitalizing on. He's not very strong for the haves, which are being called dynasty within that lexicon of the Hasra nation. But look at his strategic thinking. Is basically that Mount Kenya has so many cleavages of class. Those who have and those who don't have. Those who claim that they don't have because of historical reasons. And those who had but have lost because of coronavirus and many other things. So he's literally fishing in a very troubled area, the Mount Kenya region. And therefore, the Hasra nation is something that is selling, unless something else is done in terms of, giving people confidence that there's a glitter of hope into the future. that has to be given by whoever is going to do the campaign there. And that is very different from talking about Ruto booing people or Ruto organize people to boo others. That's not my line. I never went to school. I'm not still in the University of Nairobi to talk about who booed who and who did not boo who. Mine is to understand what logic underpins the kind of things that we are confronting today. And I think that's my duty as a scholar to the Kenyans, to explain what underlies Ruto's thing. I am the one who said that this is a crass analysis. Previously, it was simply dynasties versus the hustlers.
In 30 seconds, what underlines Raila's plan? He said he hasn't declared yet officially. He says by the end of the month, but from what you're reading, what underlines his plan? Because you've read Ruto's plan quite deeply, it seems.
In 2010, I talked about and we popularized the idea of a new Kibaki. Because we've never known Kibaki to go out in public, campaign and canvass for something. And he moved out and canvassed vigorously and robustly for the Constitution. And when the headline of the nation came, the new Kibaki, somebody could see something new. I would say the same for Raila Odinga. This is a new Raila Odinga. Talking about the language of unity, one. Two, talking about economy in solid terms that you can relate to. You may not agree with him in a number of cases. Take, for example, the idea of 6,000 shillings for unemployment. But unemployment fund is not new in countries, even America. That is what has made America survive the COVID-19 better than many other countries. Because an unemployment fund is not a fund that is equivalent to a salary. It is what you get in order to survive as you look for a job. That which gets you from Kibera to the city center, from Eastern to the city center. When you get a job, you are weaned out of it. So it is supposed to be a small amount.
A lifeline.
A lifeline.
That season.
Yes. And that is basically mediating the crisis of capitalism. Because capitalism will basically leave you out for good. So that is the new Raila I'm talking about. Raila who is talking about concrete things. Remember when Ruto and Uhuru in 2013 talked about the old people's support, the fund. People thought it's not going to work. Today my mother is depending on that. Other mothers, old ladies and old men are depending on that. If you are like, I guess I might have to mention Charles Jonjo and others who have some little amount, you feel you want to win yourself out of that fund. You don't want to receive it, but those who deserve it will take it.
Okay.
So in other words, the new Raila Odinga is now beginning to talk the language that Mount Kenya listens to, which is the language of prosperity, the language of investment, the language of welfareism that is based on an economic logic.
Will that speak to the young people? I want to speak a little bit about the voter listing exercise, because that's been a problem. IEBC saying we only have a little over 800,000 people who've come out to register as voters for next year's election, and the target was about 5 to 6 million. What is going on? I want to hear from my guest on that. We don't have too much time, but let's take that break, come back, get a few more thoughts. I have great minds both here in studio and joining us virtually from Kakamega. You're watching Newsnight. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi. Go from caveman to the man with Imperial Leather Man's Reign. Imperial Leather Man's